Hello YouTube, this is Neo Overlay Network and this is Santos. Gonna show you my Darklord deck profile. It's a fun deck. I bought this before knowing about any new Darklord cards that's gonna come out. So I'm pretty happy about that and excited. So here, let's get this started. Let's see. I run 3 Darklord X shells. Her effect is that you could discard this card and 1 Darklord card, draw 2 cards. Quick effect, you could pay 1,000 life points, then target a Darklord spell and trap in your graveyard, apply that target's effect, then shuffle that target into the deck. You can only use each effect of Darklord X shells once per turn, and you can only special summon Darklord X shells once per turn. So you gotta keep in mind of that because that does come up. So I run 3 of her. She's the most beautiful card in the deck. I like her. You can see. Ooh, all right, yeah. I run 3 Darklord Nashton. His effect is that you can discard 2 other Darklord cards, special summon this card in your hand from your hand. Quick effect, you could also, like X-Shell's effect, you can pay 1,000 life points, then target a Darklord spell / trap in your graveyard, apply that effect, then shuffle that target into the deck. You can only special summon him once per turn, and you can only use each effect once per turn. And I'll tell you why that's important about paying 1,000 life points to use a spell trap in your graveyard's effect. I run 3 Darklord Superbia. When this card is special summoned from your graveyard, you can target 1 fairy type monster in your graveyard, except Darklord Superbia, and special summon that target. So he does come up quite often, and I'll explain a little bit later how. So I run 1 Darklord Amaduct. He's better in later in games when you can discard this card and add a Darklord card in. Then target 1 Darklord card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. During your player's turn, he has the same effect as Nashton and X-Shell of paying 1,000 life points, then targeting 1 Darklord spell and trap in your graveyard, apply that effect, then shuffle that target into the deck. You can only use each effect of Darklord Amaduct once per turn, and you can only special summon him once per turn. Then I run 1 Darklord Testicopoca. His effect is if a Darklord monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can discard this card instead. And his effect is the same thing as Amaduct, paying 1,000 life points, then target 1 Darklord spell and trap in your graveyard, apply that effect. I run 1 Darklord Morningstar. He cannot be special summoned. If this card is tribute summon, you can special summon Darklord monsters from your hand and or deck up to the number of effect monsters your opponent controls. While you control another Darklord monster, your opponent cannot target this card with effects. Once per turn, you can send cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard and equal to the number of Darklord monsters on the field. And if you do, gain 500 life points for each Darklord card sent to the graveyard by this effect. I run 1 Darklord Zerato because if you have 4 or more Darklord monsters with different names and in your graveyard, you can tribute summon this card by tributing 1 dark monster. You can send 1 dark monster from your hand to the graveyard, destroy all monsters your opponent controls once per turn during the end phase. If this effect was activated this turn, destroy this card, pretty much a Regeki. I run 1 Darklord Desire because he does come up. You can tribute summon this card by tributing 1 fairy type monster. Once per turn, you can target 1 monster on your opponent controls. Then this card loses 1,000 attack in it, and you could send that target to the graveyard. So you could get out. It's non-targeting, or does it target? Currently this is it? Oh, it actually does. Never mind. All right, then I run 2 Archlord Christia. If you have exactly 4 fairy type monsters in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. When you do, then target 1 fairy type monster in your graveyard, add that target to your hand, and neither player can special summon monsters. That's important, and you gotta remember that. If this face-up card would be sent to the field in the graveyard, it returns to the top of the deck instead. So I run 2 of him. I run 2 Vanity Rulers because I'll show you how I bring these guys out. But his effect is your opponent cannot special summon, and he's also level 8, so that's important because I run trade-in. All right, I run 2 Darklord Ukubax because he's when he's normal or special summon, he's pretty much a Foolish Burial for the Darklord archetype. You can send 1 Darklord card from your deck to the graveyard, and you can only use his effect once per turn. I run 2 of him. Now for the spell and traps. I run 3 Banishment of the Darklords. You could add 1 Darklord card from your deck to your hand, except Banishment of the Darklords. You can only activate 1 Banishment of the Darklords once per turn. And the most important card, Darklord Contact. He's pretty much a Monster Reborn. You could special summon one Darklord monster from your graveyard in defense position. You can only activate one Darklord contact once per turn. And I'll show you a quick play, or what you try to do in this deck is like, if you have, let's say, Eggshell in your hand, I'll show you Eggshell and Superbia in the hand, let's say, you will discard, use her effect to discard her and a Darklord from your hand. They'll be in your graveyard. And to draw 2, then you will activate Darklord Contact to special summon your Superbia to the field. And Superbia's effect is to special summon another Darklord from your graveyard. So you'll bring back these 2, even though you discarded these 2. And her effect, you could pay 1,000 life points to apply. This will be in your graveyard, and you'll pay 1,000 life points to apply this effect. You will shuffle this back in. And so let's say you have more Darklord cards, you could special summon again. So that's pretty much what they try to do in the deck. So I run 3 Darklord Contacts, I run 3 Allure of Darkness, and I run 3 Trade-ins because you do have bricks. Another name they give it to this deck is Brick Lords. This is optional. I run 2 Mystical Space Typhoon just to fill some space. I mean, you could add hand traps, you could add pretty much anything. But for right now, I'm just running Mystical Space Typhoons because back row's a thing. And I run 3 Called by the Graves because, Ash or any hand trap except Infinite Permanence will be stopped by Called by the Grave, and you still want to keep on doing your plays. So I run 3 Called by the Graves. And for the spells and traps, I run 2 Darklord enchantments. You could send 1 Darklord monster from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard to control 1 face-up monster your opponent controls until the end phase. So that does come up here and there. And the other good card is that I run 2 Darklord Rebellion. Send 1 Darklord monster from your hand or face-up field from your field from your field to the graveyard. Destroy 1 card on the field. You can only activate 1 of these once per turn. I just choose run 2 and 2 because if you run more than that, sometimes they're breaky, and you just want to see more monsters than spell and traps. So that's pretty much for the spells and traps. Now for the extra deck, the new card that came out on Dual Overload, which was Condemn a Darklord. Now this is where I usually use her effect to bring out Vanity's Fiend, Ruler actually, and Archlord Christia, because her effect states you can tribute summon fairy monsters that require 2 tributes by banishing 2 monsters from your graveyard instead of tributing. It is still treated as a tribute summon. You could discard 1 card, take a Darklord monster from your deck, and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. And you can only use Condemn a Darklord's effect once per turn, and once per turn during the end phase. Gain 500 life points for each fairy monsters on the field. So whatever you spent from Eggshell or Nashton's effect of paying 1,000 life points, you pretty much will gain it back during the end phase because of her effect. I run 2. And now for the extra deck, it's really optional, but this is what I run for right now. I run 2 Wee Witch because, gain 500 points or, attack and defense for dark monsters, and light monsters lose 400. Then I run the Nightmare Package, an IP, a Borlord Dragon, Mech Knight Crusadia, Dingirsu because it's nice level 8. I run the trains. I run 1 Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon and Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Juggernaut. And you're going to say, how did I bring him? I usually bring him out because when you do have 2 Eggshell, she's a level 10. And when you do, you could go try to finish the game with him, then overlay to Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Juggernaut. And then for the last, I run number 38 Hope Harbinger because another level 8, or actually rank 8. And that's pretty much it. This is the deck profile. I really like it. It's really fun. You should check it out when you do have a chance. And this is Neo Overlay Network signing out. Thank you.